Good morning and thank you for choosing this live broadcast. My name is Vitis Njeri and this is Morning Extra, the show that brings you to date with the happenings in the country. And of course, later on, we're going to be taking a look at newspaper reviews. We'll be taking at a look at the dailies, the Daily Nation, the Star, the Standard, People's Daily. And do engage us through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa in all our social media handles. And now moving on to stories making headlines, President William Ruto has called for renewed efforts to hold rich nations responsible for their contribution to global warming. Ruto also urged reforms on international financial institutions to better combat climate change. In a Sunday interview with the Al Jazeera in Addis Ababa, Ruto said that poor countries, particularly those in Africa, have been disproportionately affected by climate change. He singled out increased droughts despite countries in the continent being the least responsible for the carbon emissions. Ruto proposed that the financial system be redesigned and replaced with a new system that is accountable. Ruto added that the time was ripe for a paradigm shift and African countries should not be viewed as beggars in the climate talks. The Horn of Africa is one of the regions most vulnerable to climate change, and extreme weather events are occurring with increased frequency and intensity. For years, African governments have been demanding that the world's top polluters to pay for their fair share of emissions they have caused, loss and damage to developing economies. The latest round of United Nations climate talks held in Egypt in 2022 agreed on a fund to cover costs that developing countries face from climate-linked natural disasters like rising sea levels.
Setup is rigged against those in the global south, especially in the continent of Africa. If you go to the financial markets today, we are paying 100 times more than our friends in the global north are paying. And we are saying if we have to fund the development that we have to change the financial system. It is not fit for purpose, it is unjust, it is not accountable. And we are saying the same financial setup today, or financial system today, favors the emitters. It favors those who pollute. They get development finance cheaper than we do. Those of us who are not polluting, those of us who are not emitters, are being punished for not being emitters. We are paying an arm and a leg. We are paying 100 times more than our compatriots in the global north. And that is why we are saying we need to redesign. We need a new system that understands, that is accountable, that makes those who have brought us here to the climate crisis that we have, the emitters, the polluters, they need to be held to account, so that an accountable system that doesn't punish the least polluters and doesn't reward the most, those who pollute the most, a system that works for everybody. And we are not asking for any favors. We are not asking for a system that favors us. We are asking for a system that is even.
So the climate crisis is widely blamed for the drought that's affecting East Africa and the Horn of Africa, the worst in decades. And that's left, according to the UN, more than 4 million people in Kenya, hungry, in need of help. What are you doing to help them?
For your information, it is scientifically proven. It is not something from the blues. It is scientifically proven that the current situation, the drought situation in Kenya, in other parts of the globe, in other parts of Africa, is as a result of climate change. It is the reality. The situation is getting worse. 6 million people in Kenya are faced with severe drought. Before I came here on Friday, we had a big meeting with development partners on what the Kenya government is doing.
The Ministry of Education has raised concerns after more than 200,000 learners failed to appear for grade 7 admission. The learners are supposed to be in their 4th week, beginning junior week following the onset of learning on the 30th of January. This follows a concern as many public schools struggle structurally to host the pioneer junior secondary school students, while most private schools seem to be ahead of the game. The delay is attributed to the delayed deployment of teachers to their stations, among other conditions. Here is a report.
While private junior secondary schools carry on with their academic activities, the majority of public secondary schools are struggling to kick off. This struggle is attributed to the delayed deployment of teachers to schools by the Teacher Service Commission and infrastructure strains, among other reasons. The Ministry of Education has raised concerns after more than 200,000 learners failed to appear for grade 7 admission. The learners are supposed to be in their third week of junior secondary following the onset of learning on the 30th of January. Parents and learners are in a crisis as many public junior secondary schools are struggling with an influx of a large number of learners and high fees charged by private institutions. Among those private primary schools ahead of the game to host the Pioneer Junior Secondary School include Bomet-based Galaxy Schools, where the junior secondary classes stand alone away from primary schools as in public and other schools. According to the school's director, Patricia Tanui, they wanted to make a difference among the students by separating them from primary school pupils. She hailed the recent research that indicated that most parents prefer the competency-based curriculum to the previous 844 system, further thanking the Education Ministry for not discriminating against private schools in the implementation of the new curriculum.
I want to thank the Ministry of Education through the County Director, Bomet, for giving us a chance to host junior secondary school. It nurtures the talents of the learners.
In addition, the Bomet County Director of Education, Mr. Apollo Apuku, hailed the school, terming it as a model that schools should benchmark on. He advised the junior secondary students to shun primary school behaviors by being disciplined and mature, and also cautioned them against premature sexual relationships.
JSS means junior secondary school, and therefore you are no longer in primary, but you are in secondary. And therefore the behavior and the way you engage with other students should be the behavior of mature students in secondary school. Mature behavior means that you must really be respectful. Respectful to your teachers, respectful to your fellow students, and respectful to your parents. This is what we call discipline.
More than 1 million learners are joining junior secondary schools at a time when the government is yet to finalize the deployment of 30,000 teachers to teach the newly introduced section of schools. The government is faced with the headache of teachers shortage and inadequate facilities, though it released guidelines on the junior secondary schools. Teachers, parents, and other educational stakeholders say there are many grey areas to be addressed. But amidst the challenges, the government has directed head teachers to make do with the available resources and infrastructure as they admit the learners. Bitis Njeri, GBS News.
Clara Chonga Kek, member of education in Kilifi County, asked teachers to work hard to ensure students excel in their national examinations. She made these remarks while attending a teachers' awarding ceremony in Malindi County. This comes a few weeks after schools were reopened and pioneering of the first junior secondary school. The registrator was accompanied by Rashid Othiambo, MCA Malindi Town Ward, Amina Mnyanzi, Member of Parliament Malindi, Kasim Tandaza, Member of Parliament Matuga, and Gertrude Mbeyu, Woman Representative, Kilifi County. Let's take a look.
Honorable Amina Laura Mnyazi, together with our CCM.
A teachers awarding ceremony was held in Malindi County to award teachers for good performance in the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education Exams and Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education Exam performances.
Wako number 1, pia watapewa a trophy together with the school. Unaweza chukua picha pia pamoja na MCA.
Management and performance are unpredictable and difficult to process to evaluate, but are key indicators of a school's success or failure. Clara Chonga Kek, member of education in Kilifi County, challenged teachers in Malindi to improve dwindling academic results. Clara noted that despite the small improvement, the county's pride subjects underperformed, the likes of Kiswahili and geography.
Alia matokeo and nimeona vile trajectory inavyopanda mwaka baada ya mwaka, hata kama ni kidogo, but there's a positive step up. Na nisikitiko kuona hata masomo yale ambayo tumeona ni ya huku pwani yako chini. IRE, Kiswahili, geography, such masomo ambao watu wa pwani uko wanajivunia kwa wako mbele ndio yako chini. Kwa hivyo walimu wa hayo masomo naomba, and I hope umeshare nao walimu wameona hiyo performance ya masomo na wataendelea kutia bidii.
Malindi Member of Parliament Amina Laura Mnyanzi commended teachers for taking care of learners in schools and asked them to continue to do so despite many challenges. She further promised to work closely with the teachers and the government because education is paramount.
Lenye ambalo mimi I do not want to joke on na sitaki kuliachilia abadan ni masuala ya elimu. Na ndio maana leo tumeona tuweze kuwaita walimu wetu. Kwa kile kichache ambacho tuko nacho, tuweze kuwazawadia kwa ile kazi kubwa ambayo wao wanafanya. Katika maisha ya mwanafunzi yoyote ambaye yuko shule, a very big percentage ya time wa mwanafunzi anaspend akiwa na mwalimu hata kuliko na mzazi wake pale nyumbani.
Kenya was heavily affected by a newly adopted competency-based curriculum in its first stages of implementation. One of the facets of education that had a significant increase in the focus was the area of assessment. There were some pre-COVID-19 concerns with technology that may increase the impact and risk of poor teaching, learning, and assessment practices, causing long-lasting damage to learners and teachers.
You check on the class. If at all there is
This year, we have several national examinations, including the Form 4 exams, the Standard 8 exams, Grade 6 pupils. These examinations are a national assessment that looks at what students have learned over the period they have been in school. Hence, teacher performance appraisal and development play a crucial part in enhancing staff performance, reward, motivation, and training.
The next thing you ask yourself is,
teachers are the drivers of education and learning progress in schools, whether it is an assessment of learning, assessment for learning, or assessment as learning. It is now clear that the goal of assessment is not only to give grades on the students' performance today, but to support their future learning and growth of self-regulated learning skills, the ability to set goals for their learning, and monitor their knowledge, skills, and behavior. Bitis Njeri, GBS News.
Angry villagers a Monday morning stormed Ulumbi High School in Gem-Yala sub-county, protesting the Teachers Service Commission for posting a principal whom they described as a non-performer. The early morning incident brought a business to a standstill at the school, at the placard waving parents and members of the local community vowed never to allow the principal. According to demonstrators led by chairman of the Ulumbi Village United, Moses Omoga, the incoming principal has a record of poor performance and was ejected from his previous station in Homa Bay County. Omoga said that they were defending the rights of their children for quality education and will not accept mediocrity. The school board of management chair, Ms. Liz Odwol, told the journalists that she had received numerous complaints and threats from the community since the Teachers Service Commission announced the changes that removed the current principal. William Oyamo, who is to be replaced by Mr. Tom Boyer from God Bar Secondary School in Homa Bay. Among the threats, said Odwol, is that the community will handcuff her together with Boyer and frog-march them to the Teacher Service Commission offices as a sign of their disapproval of the same. Members of the local committee vowed never to allow the new principal.
Us coming here today, we are exercising our right here to come and defend the rights of our children, yes, and also of our parents. Yes. This school used to produce a lot of A's. There was a time when we had over 30 people going to university. Yes. Today, only 2 people or 3 people can go to university. That's not what we expect. Yeah. We just buried Magoha the other day, and he's from our own location here, Yala Township. Yes. You can't expect Magoha to be buried here, and then the school on the ground is doing nothing. We cannot accept that. Yeah. No. 2, we are not fighting the TSC's appointment. We are hearing there's somebody new coming here. Yes. We don't mind that, but we want somebody who has better record, somebody who will come and deliver. Yes. We just don't want a replacement. Somebody will come and deliver for this place.
Hatutaki biashara kwa hii shule. Mwalimu Ragonga alikuwa hapa, principal the former. Shule ilikuwa inafanya vizuri, ilikuwa inaendelea vizuri. Lakini sasa imekuwa shule haiendelee vizuri, watoto wa perform vizuri. Sisi tumekasirika. Mimi nasema kama nimekasirika, ninataka watoto wetu waendelee vizuri, watatusaidia katika maishani mwetu.
And the whole community is not happy with that. And now the next principle that is being brought today is another mess altogether. He's a man who has gone under demonstration from the school he has come from. Yes. He's been chased from that school. In fact, the school area mates complain he only changes the vehicles from 1 million to another million, from 1 million to another million.
I'm a resident of Gem. I'm the BOM chair. So as the chair of Ulumbi Secondary School, I have got a lot of complaints since I received a communication from the employer, who is TSC, that we will be having a change of guard in the CEO position. So I have consulted widely, and it's like the stakeholders and the community at large are not comfortable with the incoming. So I have some very damning WhatsApp texts, videos, where they are even telling me that if I will go ahead and receive the incoming, they are going to handcuff me with him and take me to the regional director's office in Kisumu with him. So as chair, I have tried my best. I have consulted widely. I have spoken to the TSC director, regional level, and he told me that I should do a letter that should be passed by the board, so that we petition and we give our reasons, because we cannot just reject. So we should give our valid reasons as to why we do not want. Then he's going to reroute the person who is supposed to be coming here. So the position of the community is that we are not going to accept someone who is worse than Oyamo. Mr. Oyamo, when Mr. Oyamo joined Ulumbi, we had issues. It was not basically just about Mr. Oyamo, but he didn't settle in.
Manufacturers on Monday called on the government to develop and implement policies that will accelerate the transition to a circular economy. Speaking during the Loop Forum, which was hosted by Kenya Association of Manufacturers in partnership with Royal Danish Embassy in Nairobi, the Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands to Kenya, and the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, the Environment Cabinet Secretary Misoipan Tuya reiterated the government's commitment to transition Kenya from the linear model to a circular economy. Here are the details.
Manufacturers have today called on the government to develop and implement policies that will accelerate the transition to a circular economy. Speaking during the Loop Forum, which was themed Accelerating the Circular Transition, Waste to Resources and Cleaner Production, the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, Misoipan Tuya, reiterated government's commitment to transition Kenya from the linear model to a circular economy, adding that her ministry is ready to set any policy frameworks that will be required for the transition.
As the Kenya Kwanza administration, our key focus under the plan is focused on the people, the planet, and profits. And food security is at the core of it. An expanded tax base, livelihood support for those people at the lowest level of the pyramid. And this we want to implement through a value chain approach where we deliver as one, not just as government, but all the players, all the stakeholders.
If I look back on the experiences in Denmark we had with circular economy and why has we succeeded so far coming this far? First of all, you need a government commitment. And you need a government that sees that this is the future and that there's a win-win for both public sector and private sector.
The Forestry Cabinet Secretary also reinforced the need for all manufacturers and stakeholders to embrace circular economy.
Since this exhibition has brought together many manufacturers, I would like to state that Kenya's industries have been engaging in linear production for far too long. I would like to emphasize that a circular economy is not about one manufacturer changing one product. It is about all of the interconnected companies that form our infrastructure and economy coming together. And that is why this exhibition is of extreme importance, hoping it is a first step towards circularity.
We said we need to be proactive about the change. Otherwise, the change will be brought on us. And I think the big measure for us, we can probably say today historically, was the plastic bag ban. Which,
according to the ambassador of the Kingdom of Netherlands to Kenya, His Excellency Martin Brouwer, The current crisis facing Kenya are attributed to the effects of climate change, and a circular economy is the surest way to safeguarding the future.
And in the circular economy, really it is at the heart of reaching out on those three problems, those three crises that are happening at the same time, which is climate change, which is a loss of biodiversity, and pollution. And those three together are really forming the agenda, and it is creating a lot of new opportunities. And we just heard a number of examples for that.
In Kenya, the circular economy continues to be understood primarily as a waste management and recycling strategy by many, but the economic opportunities are far broader and more diverse. In Chapter 4 of the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights, every person has the right to a clean and healthy environment, which includes the right to have environment protected for the benefit of the present and future generations through legislative and other measures. In a bid to promote circular economy, Kenya has achieved several milestones which include the banning of use of plastic carrier bags and the ban of use of disposable PET bottles in Karura Forest in 2017, and the launch of Kenya Plastics Action Plan in November 2019, amongst others. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
President William Ruto has made a strong call on the international community to come up with more and better ways of financing the climate action. He said for countries to successfully surmount the global crisis of climate emergency, biodiversity loss, pollution, and debt distress, more and better ways of financing were critical. President Ruto made remarks on Saturday when he delivered his maiden speech in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, during the 36th ordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the AF. He said it is the same design that the post-war global financial architecture has always been ill-equipped to address the global challenges. He added that such an order transcends the constraints of our geopolitical frontiers and aligns with possibilities beyond parochial hegemonic imperatives that fragment the current financial model.
Past performance of African carbon credit markets tell us we need to know about Africa as the continent of the future and the next global economic power, driven purely by clean, green industrialization and innovation. At COP27, I announced Kenya's commitment to accelerate the development of carbon markets as the next major export sector, not just for Kenya, but for Africa. Towards this end, we are presently developing a high-integrity, high-quality carbon market framework and a robust activation plan, which will soon undergo legislation in order to provide certainty and clarity for the comfort of investors. In keeping with this pledge to advance opportunities in green industrialization, as well as the green agenda for Africa, I am convening a Climate Action Summit in Nairobi to take place between the 4th and 6th of September 2023. There is consensus, ladies and gentlemen, in this meeting.
Residents of Narok Central Sub-County have benefited from 300 bags of beans and 260 bags of rice donated by the national government to benefit the hunger-stricken families. The food distributed by the Narok North Member of Parliament Agnes Pareio and Narok Central AG Deputy County Commissioner Ali Shakur will benefit residents of Imashariani, Laminen and Sibei, Oloipito, Pulunga areas that are mainly affected by the ongoing drought. Here are the details.
Residents of Narok Central Sub-County have benefited from 300 bags of beans and 260 bags of rice donated by the national government to benefit the hunger-stricken families. Speaking during the distribution, Narok North Member of Parliament Agnes Pareio thanked the national government for the food donation, saying many families that mostly depend on small business for their livelihood and nothing to place on their table. The MP also pleaded with the business people not to hike food prices of foodstuff so as not to make life more difficult for the residents.
Tuko hapa tukigawa chakula ambayo tumepewa na serikali. Tumepewa gunia 300 ya maharagwe na tukapewa gunia 226 ya mchele. Na tena nataka kuomba wanabiashara wasichukue muda huu kama muda wa kufaidika. Wasiende kuendelea kuongeza bei ya chakula.
Narok Central Deputy County Commissioner Ali Shakur also thanked the government for giving food to the vulnerable communities, saying the chiefs, village elders, religious leaders, and political leaders will help to identify the most affected families that will benefit.
So tunashukuru Mheshimiwa Rais kutuletea chakula, na najua zingine zitakuja. So far tumepata hizo, tunaangalia wale vulnerable groups ambazo wanaishi zile urban areas. So ni kugawa chakula, tunaangalia, tunasaidiana na maafisa wetu wa mashinani, chiefs, assistant chiefs, nyumba 10. Tunahusisha pia viongozi wa wanasiasa, tukiongoza hapa na mheshimiwa kuhakikisha kwamba identify wale ambao kuna wale wamama ambao ni single mothers ambao hawana wazee, mayatima.
The Deputy County Commissioner also warned those whom will use the food relief for personal benefits and divert from the intended purpose will face dire consequences. Additionally, he reiterated that the government has already given 19,000 bags of subsidized fertilizers in the sub-county, hence food production is expected to go high as farming has been made cheaper.
Lakini kuna ile program ambayo Mheshimiwa Rais alilaunch, na hii ni ile program ya subsidy fertilizer ambayo imeanza kuja na Narok vile mmeelezwa na County Commissioner. So far tumepata over 19,000 zile fertilizer ambayo ni bei nafuu, ambayo ni shilingi 3,500. Na hiyo tunajua mvua ikikuja mashamba saizi zinatayarishwa, na mimi najua tutaanza kupata chakula nyingi ya kutosha ambayo tutaweza kujilisha.
Residents of Narok Town expressed their joys as they thanked the government for the food donation, as many people in the areas were sleeping in an empty stomach because of the prevailing drought and high food prices.
Tunashukuru sana mama, mimi naitwa Mary Wanjiko, tumetoka upande ya Ropito. Mama ametusaidia sana juu sasa amekuja kutupatia chakula ya msaada. Kuna watu wengi sana hapa wanaumia njaa, ni wale tu watu hawajisemi.
Tukasema ule amejitolea, Mungu ambariki, sababu tuko na jana kwa hasu na haso. Na Mungu ambariki. Mchele na maharagwe. Na tukashukuru.
Narok County received depressed rains that was poorly distributed in time and space across the livelihood zones, which was below normal. Annual food inflation eased to 13.8% in December 2022. However, staple food prices in monitored markets remain unseasonably high, driven by 4 successive below-average production seasons, high fuel and transportation costs, high local demand, and reduced cross-border imports from Uganda and Tanzania. Reporting for GBS News, I am James Odhiambo.
Simon Karanja of UN Tigers helped his team crush Administration Police 86-63 yesterday at Kasarani Indoors Arena, with Simon Karanja being the man of the match. Police stand at the 8th place with 36 points as UN stand at the 10th place with 21 points. McDonald with the full report.
Men's Kabaddi Season 1 continued today at Kasarani Indoors Arena with Administration Police facing UN Tigers. The match was tough for both sides on the first half as they went on a 50-50 challenge. The second half was different as UN made things hard for Administration Police as they grabbed more points on the opponent's side. They won 86 points to 63 over Administration Police, who stand at the 8th place with 36 points. UN stand at the 10th place with 21 points. Speaking after the match, UN Tigers player Simon Karanja, who was the man of the match, termed the match as tough, and they really fought for the win since they played against a good side.
Game imekuwa fiti, imekuwa game intense. Timu yangu ijakuwa kidupoa kwa ligi, so lazima leo tungereact na tupate hizo pointi, na nimefurahia maboys wamejituma na tukapata hiyo ushindi.
He's saying the presence of Kenyan players on the Indian League really encourages them work extra hard, hoping they may play on Pro League too.
Nikipewa motisha juu kuna players nina look up to kwa hii Kenya yetu. Hii sport si popular sana as you can see, ndio tunaanza, but kumekuwa na players wamekuwa wakidupoa, wanaenda ligi ya pro, wanarudi, and kuona wakiachieve hiyo inakumotivate kama mtu ana upcome, unajituma kuona hata wewe for the highest, cause you never know what may happen. So nikilook up to them the way they are doing well, juu tuna training nao pamoja kwa national team, so I learned there and executed in the field, and I'm happy I was able to help my team today.
The Pro League in India is the most popular kabaddi league in the world, and kabaddi is more professional there, unlike in Kenya. Reporting for GBS TV, I'm McDonald.
And that news ushers us to our newspaper reviews. We'll be looking at the leading newspapers in the Republic of Kenya. We take a look at the Daily Nation, the Standard, the Star, People's Daily, and of course in other dailies as well. And of course, do engage us through our SMS line 21144 in GBS TV Africa in all social media handles. But first, let us take a quick commercial break.
Welcome to Mahanaim International High School. Are you worried about the character of your child? Mahanaim is the best Christian and character building school and offer British National Curriculum, IGCSE O-Level and GCE A-Level, and mixed day and boarding school. For more inquiry, call 0710 111 333.
Academy is one of the activities of IYF. IYF being an NGO focused on empowerment of the youth, we have various activities. So one of the program now is the IYF Weekend Academy. It started way back in the year 2009. And through this, we want to empower the youth with the soft skills that are necessary for their growth. So we prepare various academies, various programs so that they can be able to be nurtured in terms of the soft skill that's needed. We say we supplement what education is doing. Education is teaching them the knowledge part of it, but for us in the Weekend Academy, we want to give that platform where they can be able to now practice what they have learned.
So my name is Eric Maura. Currently I'm doing camera operation. IOF is very important because one of the things I've gotten a chance to learn a lot through camera operation. I've also gotten a chance to host one of the shows known as Sport Zoom. So IOF is very good because even camera operation, I did not know there are different types of cameras. I did not know how to operate a camera, but through IOF, I gotten a chance to know all this.
The IOF Weekend Academy teacher for the camera operations. It has been a nice experience seeing young men coming, learning things to do with filming, and also bringing out the passion that lays underneath. Then I'm very much happy because I know and I believe that soon they will also make a living out of it.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back, and once again, thank you for joining this live broadcast, and we'll kickstart with our newspaper reviews, just like, of course, I had informed before. We start with the Daily Nation and see what is making headlines in the Daily Nation. And do keep the comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 in GBS TV Africa in all our social media handles. Later on, we'll be taking a look at, of course, the Standard, the Star, and other papers as well. But let us look first at the Daily Nation and what is making headlines in the Daily Nation. And of course, in the Daily Nation, there we see big names names in race for CS. And of course, there we see PS invites 224 candidates for interview to fill about 20 slots. And of course, there you can see a list of the names listed there with of course, pictures there as well, where we see the beginning photo of Dr. Evans Kidero, also a nominee of the same Bishop Margaret Wanjiro, Mr. James Ongwai, Miss Adeline Mwau. We have Miss Samuel Tunui, Mr. MacDonald Mariga, Mr. Caleb Kostani, and Miss Millicent Omanga, Mr. Cleophas Malala, and Miss Purity Ngirishi there. And we have these jobs for former governors and scores of poll losers. Among those who have been shortlisted, that's of course putting an example there of Dr. Evans Kidero as well, for post chief administrative secretary, and days after the court allowed President William Ruto to make this appointment. That is of course on page 10 of the Daily Nations as well. And of course, do make sure you also keep the comments on the same time as what are your thoughts on the list, and of course, will this list be working according to you? Keep the comments coming in. 21144 is our SMS line as well. And now moving forward, we can see a rectangular law firm hired by electoral agency, where farmed linked to House Speaker, pre-qualified by IEBC. That is of course on page 6 as well. Other news we see Uhuru loses allies, Mount Kenya clout is political gamble fall flat. Do make sure to take a look at that as well. And we see alone in death steering today's special report. Of course, this is after hundreds of bodies were listed by Nairobi City Council as unclaimed. Our teams identified some tracked down their families. Of course, this is an issue that has risen because there has been some bodies that have been staying unclaimed in Nairobi, and of course the families are being looked for that purpose as well. And you see Ruto's idle land tax plan a hot potato. Do make sure to read on that as well. And we see triplets for a cancer survivor, where we see these of course the picture there you can see of before birth. Solely there started 33 sessions of radiotherapy. Doctors advised her to harvest her eggs on the basis that she might not get pregnant, and she didn't. In April last year, she defied the odds by conceiving naturally. Faith Musoli holds her 3-month-old triplets, Kari, Jabali, Aki, and in Nairobi on February 15th. That, of course, you can see a photo there. This is a medical milestone. From being told that she needs to harvest her eggs to declining and now to having children. This is one of the positives that are happening in the country as we speak, and we do hope to see more of the same on this as well. Now, of course, let us take a look at the Standard as well and what is making headlines in the Standard. And in the Standard there we can see why it will take more army to win bandit war. That is, of course, on national page 12 and 13. You can see there, of course, this is a war that has been going on, the banditry, and the president has, of course, sent armies and, of course, to check on that as well, and do hope this issue is addressed and the law does take its course on well. And we see true lies in Nigeria politics. That is on World page 27. And then teachers' view on the competency-based curriculum, and another Madrid test for the lovers of sports for Klopp. Do make sure to take a look at that. And we see Joker or Rogue, DP case of Gachagua, where we see the power of tongue. There has been, whereas as the deputy president has come off as a straight talker or man who shoots from the hip, his remarks and actions are increasingly seen as unstable for a person occupying the second most powerful office. That is on page 6 of the Standard as well. And of course, there down we can see some of the quotations of the remarks he has made, where we see one of them being, the government is like a company with shareholders. There are those with a lot of shares, those with a few. Only those who have invested deserve to reap the dividends. And you can see there another remark that he did make that is quoted there. Governor Sakaja, slow down. I mobilized the Kikuyu voters for you. So don't hurt our business. This idea of removing matatus from town is not good. And there's another quotation there of the deputy president as well. These people are not going anywhere. I have come with 70 iron sheets, a bag of rice and beans for each family. The county police commander has been removed. Those are some of the remarks that have been used to make sure that this is analyzed, whether there is a joker or rock tank. Of course, this is the case of the deputy president as well. And other headlines, we can see Masit fate now in the hands of Judge Judge Mchelule, of course, this is ongoing case of the IBC commissioner who is remaining among those who, of course, were facing this tribunal as well. And of course, we see the case of Mercy is now in the hands of Judge Mchelule. And we see sex abuse through price of car and tea, where we see investigations report shows that rampant exploitation of women seeking jobs in tea farms. Managers are arm twisting them for sex as a condition to keep their job. That is indeed very sad. We're there to see people doing that to be able to get a job, and we do hope the law does take its course and the government does see what is happening, and maybe investigations are done, and this is an ongoing case, and we do expect to see what is happening and what will happen and how the investigation will be conducted and the conclusion that will be made. And you see those new mosquito species could wipe out malaria gains, where we see new species is said to be unique since it thrives in a man-made containers such as jerry cans, tires, open tanks, and underground tanks, and polluted environments. This is, of course, a report on these new mosquito species that are very, very dangerous. Do make sure, of course, to use the resources that can be used to curb the issue as well, be it mosquito nets and, of course, some of the repellent sprays, whatever needs to be done, of course, to make sure that we do get off this virus. And if you're able to keep safe, do keep safe from this, because this is an issue that has become very noted here. And then you see Cambridge noted that species spreads fast. Experts warns that it might cause a surge in cases of deaths were discovered in the see, of course, Lakesams and Saku sub-counties in Marsabit. So in case you're there in Marsabit, do make sure to take caution as well. Use the mosquito nets as well. These, of course, the experts have warned that it might cause deaths quickly, and because they do spread fast, to make sure to take caution where you are able to. And of course, the government will hopefully will come in aid of that as well. Let's take a look at the Star and what is making headlines at the Star as well, and where we see why unga prices likely to rise next week, says Millers. That is on page 2. Of course, food is an issue that does affect each and every person. So indeed, we need to take a look at that as well. And then we see divisive critics say Deputy President is openly abetting tribalism in the civil service. Why Deputy President Gachagua is in the eye of a storm. Opposition MPs threaten to lead anti-taxation campaigns in their regions. That is on page 4 and 5 as well. Opposition members of parliament threaten to lead anti-taxation campaigns in their regions. To make sure to take a look at that as well. High cost of living pushes Mathare residents to the streets, where we see there are a picture of parents and learners from Mathare march on Juja Road to the office of the Deputy President yesterday, protesting against high cost of living that resulted in a low Form 1 transition in the area, with less than 1,000 out of 3,000 students who sat for last year's Kenya Certificate of Primary Education exams reporting to high school. Of course, this is an issue even as the government is looking for the 100% transition. There has been a question on the high cost of living. And in Mathare there, you can see there was an issue that was raised due to some students failing to transition due to the high cost of living, and they were marching the Deputy President's office. And I do hope that there is an address, and because this is an ongoing happening, we do hope to see what transpired there. And there we see on other headlines, we see voices there, and then that is Marshall Wakenda, who says Kenya needs new investment and markets. And then there are not routine job hunt, high-powered lobbying as PSC lists CSS jobs for President Ruto to pick. That is, of course, we have seen one of the lists being in our previous papers where there was some of the nominees there as well. And we see misery death as praying man in his 20s fall from a holy rock at Kit Mikai. That is very sad indeed. That is on page 3 of the same. Do make sure to take a look and tell us and engage us through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa in all our social media handles. Let us move at People's Daily and see what is making headlines in the People's Daily as well, where we see how happy-go-lucky lifestyle affect fertility rate studies, of course, on page 23 of the People's Daily as well, We are experts to guide public on a genetically modified organisms food. Where Gachagua says it will be first come, first served in Kenya Kwanza. That is on page 2 of the People's Daily as well. And there we can see a photo of the Deputy President is speaking of the same. And we see state agencies face budget cuts. Supplementary spending development takes 106 billion slash. Recurrent allocation of teachers offered is Kenyan shillings 6.4 billion more. Roads trimmed to, and of course that is on page 4 and page 15 of the People's Daily as well. And of course we can see some pointers there where they're saying that 3.36 trillion amount that was approved as national budget in June 2022. Another pointer there says that 3.37 trillion new amount of the supplementary budget before parliamentary today. And you see another pointer there saying that 10 billion Kenya shillings cut in the Ministry of Defense budget despite the ongoing crackdown on banditry. Another pointer, the last pointer there does talk about the 1 billion additional reduction in the money proposed for Kenya Airways bailout. That is, of course, one that is happening there, and we can see it for those interested in forms there. There is an advert there. Do make sure to check on the Reno 8. And, of course, if you are interested on the same, do read, and those are just but the headlines, to make sure to dig in for yourself and see what is happening and what you need to, of course, to know on the same. Now let us move to matters business and see what is happening in the business world. And of course, in the business world, we see make the future winning yours. Beg, borrow, but don't steal. Don't ask for permission, beg forgiveness later. That is on page, of course, on page 9 as well. And make a update of Business Daily and see what is happening. Family business, Chris Kirubi's daughter and running tycoon's empire. For those, of course, interested in business, do make sure to dig in and see what is happening. KRA seeks to sniffer dogs to cash hidden bags. That is our KRA eyes cash in handbags and jacket pockets. Kenya sees rise of undecided money from travelers. Where we see the Kenya Revenue Authority will soon have to suffer to sniffer dogs at border politics. Of course, we do. This is indeed step in the right direction. And we see NIS fights 10 billion budget cut in the City reviews, where Kenya Spy, of course, agency has warned Parliament against affecting in the 30 billion budget cut, and do make sure to see on that as well. Parliament ensures Treasury over 6 billion telecom transaction. And then how construction workers are paid in Kenya. Do make sure to check out that as well. Companies in the construction sector place a premium on experience compared to, of course, academic qualifications. This is indeed for people, of course, who are working in the construction areas. This is how you're going to be checking at how workers are paid and maybe how you can improve that as well. And of course, they are indeed outlining there that they are not paying according to academic, but according to experience reasons as well. And then property auctions cut bad loans by biggest margin since 2007. Make sure to take a look at that as well. And of course, I've just been going through the headlines of the front pages of Daily Nation, the Standard, the Star, People's Daily, and of course Business Daily. But those are just the headlines. To make sure to dig in and see what is happening on the newspapers as well. And by that marks the end of our morning segment today. Do make sure you have yourself a good day. My name is Beatrice Njeri.
Welcome to Mahanaim International High School. Are you worried about the character of your child? Mahanaim is the best Christian and character building school and offer British National Curriculum, IGCSE O-Level and GCE A-Level, and mixed day and boarding school. For more inquiry, call 0710 111 333.